it's a superset live demo. I'm going to be using preset to do the live demo, and we're going to talk about annotations. Before to start it, if you have any questions, it's like a check in the bar, okay? You have a question and answer there, so that is the best way to do some questions. Srini, it is also hosting this event, and he will be answering questions while the questions are coming. Try to avoid the chat, that if you click here, you can go to the chat and do chat in the questions, but I'm pretty sure that Srini is going to be looking at this tab, so focusing this one, okay? Also, before I started, I always like to talk about just to present what is preset. Preset is the hosted service of Superset. So if you are a Superset user, it's like a preset offer the hosted version. And if you can see, I took this screenshot today. That is like it is also one of the main collaborators of the code. So if you need some of the experts in Superset, like at preset, you're gonna find the engineers that are really making the code. About me, like I'm Eugenia. I work as a customer engagement at Preset, and my goal is to make everyone as passionate as me, you know, with Superset. I found it like an amazing tool. I helped many companies over the year, you know, to store petabytes of data, and I decided to join Preset so I can start to help the people to make some use of that data. So I have been in the field of data management and big data for many, many years. My whole career was based on that. So today we're going to talk about annotations. It is a live demo, but before I feel like I need to do an introduction of the live demos, because there are so many things, as I mentioned in the description, is a hidden diamonds that you have in Superset. Not many people use it. Not many people knows about it. But at the same time, it's very powerful. And because not many people are using it, it's like don't be surprised that probably it has some issues, so it could have a better workflow. So the idea is like to promote annotations, not so you only can use it, but you also can help us to make it better. Okay. So the most important part is like if you use it, you can give us feedback, and with that feedback, we can make it amazing for everyone. So what are the annotation? It's another layer that you can add to the chart, so you can add more context to the chart. And inside that Superset, you have 4 different types of annotation. A time series annotation, that is when you wanted to lay down another chart of the top of one chart, and we're going to see the example. And that separate chart will come from a different data set. You know, you can compare data from different data sets, and you can put one at the top of the other. An interval annotation is like when you wanted to define interval dates, you know, to represent something. And in my example, I'm going to show different cases of the interval. And you have 2 sources of interval annotation. A superset annotation, that is something that you add as a superset, and you will have that in the metabase of Superset. So if you don't have access to a database or something, you can add it there, part of the metabase. And a table annotation is something that you build a table chart from source data that it comes from a database. Okay, so you have to have the data on the database, and I'm going to show the example. The event annotation is the same like the interval, with the only difference that it has only one date. Okay. And a formula annotation is when you wanted to do any type of calculation or a fixed number on the x-axis of the chart. Okay. So one of the things that I didn't say here yet is that annotation works in the time series chart. Okay. So it doesn't work in Python, but data that comes from the time series. So let's do a live demo. Can you hear me? I pressed a button with my button, so hopefully it still works. So let's do it. So as I mentioned, I'm going to use Superset, and I have a workspace here that is a Superset instance of a Superset. And to do the annotation, because I just wanted to focus on the annotation, I created this dashboard, you know, to have some base components. And seems like I lost a chart in my process. Let me add that chart so everything is here. I think it's this one. Oops, There is a fatal error in this one. So let me see what happened. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna remove this one and I'm gonna focus on the other one. Okay, so if I check my dashboard, I did this live dashboard. The chart that it was missing, it has the fatal error. It should be this one. I don't know what it has a fatal error, but we can add it. Okay, and as I mentioned, it is a time series annotation. In this case, I'm using the time series chart, and what I represented here, it is the PR merged. So let me go back and explain a little bit about the data. Okay, now the chart is there. Like everyone is so tired of listening to me. Every demo that I do lately, or it was about the COVID data, and I heard feedback that please stop using the COVID data. So I try to define a chart, some type of data, that is different, but at the same time, like something that is useful. So what I did was to take the Shift Hub data, that is every actions that we have in Shift Actions, and try to see what Max is our boss, the creator of Superset, what Max has been doing over time. So I collect this data for our metrics, but now I just change the data set and say, okay, this is Maxine, working in Apache Airflow, and then he started to work in Apache Superset, and you can see the contribution. And I don't know if you know about this feature that is you can add chart description. So I put a chart description like those are Max all actions in the Airflow and Superset repository. This other chart is Max PR work over time. It's just everything that is related to a pull request. A pull request is a change that you do in the code. And in this chart, what I did, it was an analysis, all the PRs merged over time by organization, okay? But only the committers can merge a PR. So you have here, like what is happening over time. So that is to explain a little bit about the data. So the data is stream data that I collect every day about all the things that happen in our in GitHub in the repository for Apache Airflow and Apache Superset. So to do annotation, I'm going to start with this one, just to give you an example. Like as I mentioned, it's a hidden diamond. It's here, it's hidden, okay? And you need to add annotation layer. So the first one that we're going to add is the formula. So let's see if we were talking about PRs, let's see that we're going to add an annotation that talks about, because this PR merge company, we're going to say the PR, one PR per day, okay? As the data, it is merged, is summarized by month. If I wanted to make a line that if you do one PR per day, it should be a line in the count 30, okay? So when you do a formula, if you put a fixed number, that means like it's adding a line, with the y-axis. I'm gonna increase you can change the colors, you can change the style. I say dash, and you can change the color, one PR per day, at least they work on that. And then when I run the query, you can see that what the annotation does is to add an additional line. So that is what I mean that annotation, what it does is to add context, more context to your data. Because now it's like you see here, you have a line that it adds in the legend, one PR per day. And you can say, okay, those are the companies, the organizations that are working with one PR over day. It's like it's always depend on the data. It's like every visualization, it matters what is the data that you're using. And you can add more things. It's like, for example, I say, okay, I'm gonna put my bandwidth, and say, and I wanted to see the people that work with 3 PRs a day, just to give you an idea. And I say, if that is 3 PR per day and it's 30, like we could use this, and you apply it, when you run it, like I'm probably gonna put different color. I'm gonna do -2, and I'm gonna use a green one. And probably increase this like to 3. Okay, so like in this case, I can you can see the companies that add 1 PR a day and place more than a PR a day. So it's nice, so you can identify the outliers. You know, it's like that is if you are talking about sales, if you're talking about like a number of new users, it's like you can say what is my healthy bandwidth. You know, and here, so I can focus in this one, or I can focus in the red one. It's like in this case, it's like that is preset, and you know in the dashboard you can just remove, and you can say, okay, that is preset. You know, the one working is like he's doing more than 3 PRs per day, and that's like just to give you a little bit. So that is the formula notation. The only thing that you do is like if you put a number, you can add, you know, it just add a line in the y-axis. If you put a formula, because you will say, okay, but it's a formula notation, like the formula is using the y-axis, that is the time that is the epoch. Let me see if I can find a formula. I forgot to add a formula, but I think I have one formula here. For example, in this example, I apply the C note. It's like it's very difficult to come up with a formula. So I was trying to figure out what formula to use. And I'm not sure if this one is gonna bring you data, but just to show you, if I add another formula here, test, formula, another annotation, and I add this formula that is the cosino based on the epoch, and I apply a formula, and I put it in pink, put 2 colors, when apply. You see, it's like the numbers are really big, but what it did is to apply a formula based on the x-axis, okay? So I'm gonna remove this one because it doesn't make sense, but I wanted to show you, you know, what it means a formula. It used x, you know, that is the epoch time. And then epoch time is when the first day is in the 70s, okay? So it is a big number. I'm gonna remove this one because it won't look nice and it doesn't make sense. And then you save it, and I'm gonna put it back in my dashboard. And now you see in your dashboard, you have this chart with this annotation, okay? So that is with the formula annotation. The other annotation are the interval annotation, and also there are the time series annotation. And I'm gonna show you now, like because I was preparing the data, as I mentioned before, the interval annotation are based on data that you have in the data set, in your database, okay? So you can use a table. So what I did here is I created, actually, I wanted to create a table where have times that I can add to my annotation. So like what I did here for the demo, just to show you this table, I create a virtual data set, and I took from when are the days that Max work, you know? So I just took from the same table that I'm doing the chart, but as I mentioned, it could be a completely different data set from another database and everything. I just took what is the organization, what was the last date that Max did some PR, you know, something in action for that organization, what is the minimum, so I put the first date, you know, from the table that I'm using. And so I just created that data set. So I have something that is useful for this data set that I am using. So when you save it, I wanted to show you that, the table, but you have to have a table. And now I put it here as supported date. And this is another dashboard that I'm gonna use when I explain the time series annotation. So for example, I'm gonna use in this one. This is max work. If I see what I did here, is the max PR work over time in the Apache Superset project, okay? And I wanted to add here, what are the companies that he works, you know? So I wanted to add an annotation so I know, oh, that was when Max was working in Airbnb. That was when Max was working in Leaf. That is when Max was working, you know, in preset. So I'm gonna explore the chart. I'm gonna add an annotation. Here, I'm gonna say Max employments, you know, just as an example. I'm gonna use an interval annotation, and I'm gonna say it is a table, okay? And my table are gonna be the max work day, that is the table that I showed you before. So here, what is the start column? That is the first date, that is the last date, and it asks you if you wanted to add some title to the column. I will say what is the organization, and then a description. If I don't add a description, it's gonna ask the whole, all the 3 columns concatenated. So I'm gonna add a description, so I keep it a short date. And I say, okay, I want it to be solid, and you can choose a color. We're gonna choose a yellow, and you apply. And if you see here, it's like now I have a background, a yellow background, and you can see at the top that say Airbnb max employment in Airbnb, you know, leave max employment in leave, preset max employment in preset. So for what I see, so I can save this in my annotation layer. But for what I can see, you know, now you have it here. Seems like a Max never took time off, you know, I don't have gaps. Move from Airbnb, he moved to leave, from leave, he moved to preset. So it doesn't actually just show a background. So in order to show it better, what we're gonna do is to make Max to take some time off, okay? So because I took what is the last date of work and what is the first date, I'm gonna say Max took like a 90 days vacation. So I'm gonna remove, it's like it's the last day minus 90. And I'm doing this so it can look better when I show it. So if I save it, okay. Like hopefully it's working, and let me refresh this chart. Oh, well, I need to refresh this one first. Oh, I did a grown query, so that is nice. Explore chart. Like probably when I modify the query, I wrote a grown query. Yeah, because I put the 90 after the alias. I should have put the 90. So it is processed before the date. So what I should have done it here before, I just can run it. And now it works, okay? So you can also do a calculated column if you wanted to do it better. But that is part of what I did last demo, you know, how to do calculated column. So if I go, this was refreshed seconds ago. Let me refresh my whole chart, refresh my dashboard. And Max here, it should have some breaks. But it's not coming. But the idea that it was to have him to jump from one, because this is cat. But it should have worked. But the idea it was to see some break between the days. Maybe 90 days is not enough because this is a month. So it should have a gap between the first date, last date, organization. It doesn't show me the gap. It should show the gap, but I don't know how to. Okay, but I wanted to show you this. Like that is the interval annotation. You have 2 dates and you wanted, you know, to add that, and you can change this one instead to make it is like a interval that it just shows, you know, the whole block of time. You can just change it and show instead to interval to say, I'm gonna make it an event. I'm gonna use the table, marks for date, and I'm gonna just use what is the last day that he worked in our organization. Okay, so when I apply it, you see a yellow line in this case because it's a line. Maybe you wanted to use a more dark color. Okay, so this one probably looks better because you just have what is the last date that he worked, you know, in one company when he changed from one role to another role. So you save. and go to the dashboard. And now you have the annotation. The other type of annotation that I wanted to add here that we didn't explore is to do the time series annotation. As I mentioned, I did a supporting data. And in this chart, what I did is to do a line chart of the stars that the Superset project had. The Superset project had like a more than 31,000 stars. So here is per day when we got those stars. Okay, so it's like you see in May 1,000, and I don't see, I didn't put description, but what I did here, it was the rolling. Like you can, if we explore the chart, I am using the advanced analytics that probably we can do in another session, the advanced analytic. What I'm doing here is the rolling average per month because it's like otherwise it was too spiky and I like it more like that. Okay, so let me close this. I have so many open. So I'm gonna use this as an annotation to another chart. And I'm gonna use it to this chart. So I explore the chart. I'm gonna add an annotation layer. In this case, it's gonna be stars time series. My option is the line chart, and I'm gonna do the superset preset new stars. You can add it here as a dash. You can show other color. You can say what is the width that is gonna have the line. And you can choose a title column. In this case, I don't have any title, so you apply it. And now you can see in this chart with dot line, when the stars were happening, you can see the star count. In this case, I'm filtering the data that max work. Maybe I should remove max so I can compare the star with the work that has been done in the repository, but I do have Superset and Airflow. So let me filter when the repository is just incubator Superset. Say, if I run the query, so you can, that is very good also, to see correlation. I have seen customers using this. For example, they have a baseline to say this is the growth expected based on in the top company. And that is a completely different source, is the expectation. And that is my real progress, of new customer or new users. But they put as an annotation what is the expected growth, it's like what is the expected forecast. So that allowed them to see, if they are based on what they expected or didn't expect. And here you can see it's like you have more star when there was more work, in the company. It's like in the PRs, more work done in the repository. This one is an average, so you can also add the advanced analytics, to say I also wanted to have the average, so the numbers match, the curves look nicer, and you can see it's like that there is, it could be a trend at the beginning, it's like the more comments, the more things that happen in the repository, it's like the more stars we're seeing. It's like even here, you can see it's like more things, like the curves that kind of follow. And that completely makes sense in the way that people goes to the repository, they start to add comments and things like that, and boom, they give us a start, and that is the way that it grows. So when I save this one, okay, you can have it here, in your repository. And that's it with the annotation. I forgot one more, that is the superset annotation. Everything that I mentioned, this one, and this one are based on different charts, and those charts are based on data sets. So you have to have data sets in a database, in a Google Sheet, or whatever we have it, to build a chart. So you need to have a chart in order to add those annotations. But there are some cases that you just wanted, for example, if you're using for operation and you wanted to add something like the system went down or some critical information, you can just add it, in the annotation layer. Those are annotations that goes to our metabase. So the annotation layer, you say that is my milestone, or just to give you an example, says annotations, okay, of things that happen, kind of milestone. So for example, if you're doing an analysis of your clickstream data and you know that the system go down, so instead to see a big spike that's going down, you can just add a milestone and say the system went down by that time. So when the people look at the chart, they know that that happened. So what you do first is to create a container that say, those are my annotation layer milestone. And then you add an annotation. And I say presets born, just to give you an idea. That is a milestone. When we say preset born, the repository probably took a big, it's like a start to grow because you have now paid engineers working in the project, So preset born in 2018, I think it was this day. And you can put an end date. It's like, because it's born, it's exactly the same date. So you first say registered preset. Okay, so you add it. Now I have this milestone. So if I go to my dashboard, maybe I can add it here because you can add more annotations to a chart. You just to explore the chart. And I'm going to add another annotation. And my annotation is going to be my milestone. So that is going to be an event. It can be an event or an interval. It's a superset annotation. And it's going to be a milestone. And I'm going to put dash and a solid dash, and I'm going to make it purple, and okay, so you have the annotation there, and you say, and you can see actually, it's like if you look at this and say this is the work that happened, you can see like how over time the work in the repository start to grow since preset born, so there is a company behind the project and make it happen. So you save it, you go to your dashboard, and now you have your dashboard full of annotation. And I don't see any questions. So I was very clear, or I don't know, like I'm very curious to see if people use this annotation based on my analysis, on based on how people are using the Superset. People don't even know that annotation existed. I try to document everything. If you go to docs preset.io, like I document them so you can just play with it. It's like, for example, I use the COVID data that people are excited to hear. Okay, and you have the Superset annotation. The Superset annotation, they have a facelift playlist. So like now I will have to upgrade the screens. It's like but the concepts and the ideas are the same. Great presentation. Thank you very much. What version is this annotation available? Annotations have been available for a while. So at least since I started to work it in preset, that it was at the beginning of the 2020, and they have been there. So, but having hidden people, like you will find them in the line charts, floor chart. You will find them here, annotations and layers. So I answer that. Okay, and I can believe that there is no questions, and we are on time. So it was an efficient 30 minutes. Somebody raise a hand. I don't know how to. Somebody put something in the chat. Thank you, Eugenia. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions. So.
Okay, guys, it was a pleasure. One thing is like just in case I wanted to show you. I have my slides just in case. Thank you for your time. The documentation is there, docspreset.io. If you want more information, info preset. If you wanted to try preset, that is so you don't have to worry about installing and setting up Superset, you can go to alpha preset.io, alpha program, And if don't forget to register to the next session. We're doing those events, pretty often. It's like every 2 weeks. So if you have any recommendation of topics, it's like don't hesitate to send info to preset.io. We will be happy to do the topics that fits you better and you're curious about it. Thank you. See you guys.